Guys, thank you so much. You guys have been brilliant. For our valedictory session for PRAXIS 11 is an actor par excellence, Huma Qureshi. Huma is the recipient of the prestigious Filmfare Award. She received tremendous appreciation for her roles in movies like Gangs of Wasepur and the political drama Maharani, where she plays the protagonist Rani Bharti. It plays on Sony Live. A theatre actor and a model in her early days, Huma is today a critically acclaimed Hindi film actor. In 2023, she also published her first book, Zeba, an accidental superhero. We are extremely honored to have Huma with us at PRAXIS. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Huma Qureshi.
For me, I think, and for everyone, creativity is life itself, right? Like, that's the very basis of life. Like, some dude said, you know, I don't like the taste of raw meat, so let me put it on fire. He got creative with his food choices, and bam, now we have cuisine. So thanks to creativity, we have fire, we have aloo ke parathe, and of course, Salim's ke kebab. That was a Salim's plug-in. I keep telling my dad, of course I'm a film actor and I do all these roles and I had a lovely introduction. I'm an actor, producer, author, but actually what I'm technically doing is just trying to sell a few more kebabs. I mean it. So any of you go to Delhi, HS24, Kailash Colony, take my name, 10% discount anytime. And do tell my dad it's me and not my other siblings. Means a lot. Well, I mean, my journey from like almost becoming just a kebab seller's daughter to being this actor, author, producer, I think came with a lot of ups and downs. I started doing theater, and from there I realized being a theater producer at the age of 19 and trying to sell like tickets for a theater play in Delhi for 1,200, 1,500 bucks, which was a tall order back in the day. I did a play called City of Jinns with the great Zora Sehgal and Tom Alter. Being a part of it. It was a William Dalrymple book, and that's how I met Kunal, and he helped me promote that, and we actually managed to sell some tickets, and that's how we became friends. And so when I did Gangs of Wasipur, he was my first unpaid, overworked PR. Should have paid him then, na? Would have been cheaper today. I think for me, like, creativity is not like a single thing. For me, what really gets me going is when I'm able to dabble in multiple things. And I think it's important that, if I'm acting, I'm also producing. If I'm also producing, I'm also thinking about my next book idea. And all those ideas somehow, creep from one into the other. I wish I had some gyan to give you guys, but I'm honestly just here to have a chat and learn from you guys. So please feel free. And Vasundhara, if you're around and not hiding in a corner, let's start this fireside chat.
Well, thank you, Huma. Thank you for being here, and that was lovely. And I am a great fan of Salim's. Let me tell you, I order every month.
Wonderful. I owe you my education. हाँ यार कबाब नहीं बिके होते तो पढ़ाई कैसे कराते पापा?
I think, like you rightly said, that over the past 2 days, we've all sort of gathered here, over 600 professionals from the communications industry, and we've been talking on creativity and community, all of that. And some great exchange of ideas, a lot of gyan, a lot of knowledge, a lot of deep insights that came. But I think now we're all waiting for just hearing some gyan from you on creativity. It is going to be a fresh perspective. And
So
I think maybe we
not
can
really the smartest bulbs, if you've called me, huh, guys?
So we'll start off. I think creativity is the bedrock of both our industries, and communications, PR, marketing, it thrives on creativity. I think somewhere it's a little sort of overused, almost abused term in our sort of industry, where we are required to be at the best of our creativity with everything that we do. now that you are delving into from acting to production in 2022, and now you're getting into even writing a book, you've written your first book. What is your creative process like? I mean, how do you simply define creativity? And do you see any difference in the entire process of creativity when, let's say, you were writing Zeba versus when you maybe were producing Double XL for the first time?
Yeah, to be honest, I think being creative fundamentally means also to be brave, you know, also a little stupid. और bravery और stupidity में सिर्फ success का फर्क होता है, if you know what I mean. You know? Often at times, if what you try and do, which is innovative and is sort of a disruption in the industry that you're in, and if it's successful, it's seen as a bold, innovative, successful move. But if it's not, it's like, what were you thinking? But I feel like more often than not, the crippling fear of failure, holds us back from being creative. And I think once you take that away, you're able to like go into spaces in your field, in your personal life, in whatever you're trying to achieve in a far more like innovative manner. And I think, I don't think creativity can be defined or narrowed down, but I think as long as you, put yourself out of the way, sometimes we are the biggest impediment to our own success, to the creative process itself. So as an actor, when I'm supposing doing a scene, and I can only apply it to my own life, it's like, okay, this is Huma. She was born in Delhi. This is what she feels. This is what she believes. This is what her upbringing was. This is what, how she speaks. This is an amazing sense of humor, etc., etc. But when I'm playing a character, maybe that character is not that. So when I'm playing a Rani Bharti or I'm playing, any other character, Monica, I'm not. I don't need to have the same value system. And often, like, when you are at loggerheads internally with that, the result does not come. So the idea is, how do I put myself out of the way? At least I look at it like that. Like sometimes you have to overcome that own sense of crippling fear to be able to do anything bold, new, and innovative.
Was there any difference specifically? How did writing happen? I mean, I know you always wanted to be an actor. You were from theater background, and then you wanted to be an actor all your life, and now. So and then you got into production, which is a transition that is expected. But how did writing happen?
So in 2020, when the whole world was going through the pandemic, COVID, and a lot of my friends were either getting married or popping babies, I thought it was a far smarter thing to write a book, I think so. I call Zeba, my first novel with HarperCollins, my COVID baby, because I literally would wake up every morning, and I think mental health was a huge thing, has become a huge thing in a good way for all of us. So I started adopting a journaling practice, and from that journaling practice, because I would get up and write 3 pages about whatever I was feeling in terms of my emotions or my mental health space, and I would just pour it all out. It evolved into a book as well.
So I think I met Huma for the first time, and this I didn't share with you, but I've met you in the year 2012-13, very briefly. That time your first movie was just out, and we met with Kunal, me, and you at Varun Behl's office. So, and I was hugely impressed with your first film, and when I watched it, I realized that you just had a 5-minute part, but what really impressed me was, I think, for all of you who must have watched Huma's first film, she just had a 5-minute part, but she said a very, very interesting line. I don't think even Shah Rukh Khan or Amitabh Bachchan has that kind of an opening line as she had. And it was a very important subject, which was of consent in a relationship, when, and the importance of it. And she said, permission nahi le sakte kya? So did you understand the gravity of that line when you were saying it?
Honestly, no. I think it was just like something, that film was such a special film, right? It was all, we were kids and it was fun and games and it's your first film and you're just overwhelmed with the idea of being a part of a Hindi film. And this incident actually happened with Nawaz. So during one of our workshops, he mentioned that he tried to touch a girl's hand and she yelled at him, saying, permission lena chahiye, aise kaise kar sakte ho? And he started crying. And the way he narrated it was so funny. We all laughed. And he was saying, yaar, main tumhe apni dil ki baat bata raha hu and you guys are laughing at me. And Anurag Kashyap put it in the film. So that's how it happened. But yeah, now when I look back at it, it's kind of, I think it was God sent that the first dialogue I ever uttered in Hindi films would be Permission to lena chahiye na. And I think it's really stuck with me.
And you know, I mean, there have been films made on it, there have been debates that have happened, and you said it with so much of innocence, and it left that impact. And I think you were much bigger, and in terms of the writing that happened around you after that movie, I think you got more media space than some of your other actors and co-stars.
I think so. And I think, I think that's the power of popular culture. I always say this, like, when you really are trying to make a point and you're trying to maybe change society or influence young minds or whatever, uh, young people don't necessarily read the same articles or books or watch the documentaries so sometimes when some of these ideas I feel are conveyed in a way where you're kind of preaching to the choir, as opposed to embed them in popular culture in the form of a popular song, in a music video, in a film, in their favorite hero or heroine or whatever, doing something. And that really kind of helps. So I feel like, yeah, I think I was just blessed that I got to say that line. I don't think I could have possibly engineered that. Of course, today as an actor, if I get to play roles like Rani Bharti or, my role in Double XL or whatever, I try and there's a part of me that tries to be like, hey, if I'm popular today, can I say something that can positively influence some minds? Because I do understand the power of that dialogue even today.
Huma, let's talk a little also about the importance of collaboration in sort of driving creativity. Now, in our industry, when we are sort of working on a campaign or working on any creative brief, uh, collaboration is very, very important between the teams, etc. And within our space, within the company that I work with, we are open to listening to ideas, creativity pop from every corner. It could be from the highest strategist to even somebody who's just fresh out of college and just joined our company. Now, you are somebody who is also in a space where collaboration is very, very critical. You have some 500 people who are coming together to make one film and so much of hard work going. And while we have a team which is constantly working together, so we sort of, we create a space where we understand each other, but you are changing your set of people with every film. So talk about that. Talk about how creativity, it's important to have that positive environment and collaboration
बहुत
for
मजे आते हैं.
creativity.
बहुत मजे आते हैं. At least you're not stuck with the same set of people, right? I think whoever's laughed, your boss is looking at you, huh? No, I mean, no, jokes aside. No, but I do feel like, how do you grow? How do you grow in life? How do you constantly keep yourself excited and challenged? Like I see with so many people, I don't know, I mean, I'm sure everyone has parents or grandparents. After a certain age, they just stop exploring new things. You want to go to the same park, you want to meet the same friends, you want to, I don't know, just do the same things. So beyond a certain point, because you're so set in your routine, and we all as human beings, right, because there's so much chaos around us, we're constantly trying to find some kind of routine, some kind of order in this chaos of life, right? But what that often does also is that it limits you. You start only listening to your peers, you only listen to your family members or the people you're hanging out with. So you're never challenged. Your morality, your sense of understanding of the world, your perception is never challenged because you are just limiting yourself. When you're younger, you're going to school, everything is a new experience, and everything you look at with wonder or amazement. Like I want to ask everyone, when was the last time you truly were amazed at something? Or you had a sense of wonder. Ki, oh, I've never seen something like this. Or I've never tasted something like this. Or I've never felt this way before. And I think in my profession at least, I'm super blessed because not only do I get to work with different kinds of people and different groups of people, different directors. Like we could both read the same script, but a director, his or her vision to bring that to life could be so unique. And I'm constantly challenged to look at my own self from a different perspective and lens. I get to be different people. Okay, Huma does not do this. Like I would never, God forbid, kill another human being, or I would never think like a, I don't know, like a bank robber or like a, I don't know, communications officer or, like an astronaut. But in my line of work, I get to deeply, in a very granular way, study the life of a person like that and try and portray that as authentically as I can. And that is so wonderful, right? Because, like, where else do you, like, I get to be a kid my whole life. I get to play like, how बचपन में हम खेलते थे? You play act, घर घर खेलते हैं या चोर पुलिस खेलते हैं. I feel like I'm so blessed. I still get to play चोर पुलिस.
Right. So when we are making a film, it's so many creative minds coming together. You have the writer first writing it, and then you have the director. He has his own creative vision. And then there are the actors, who are coming and sort of portraying, and you have your own creative interpretation of that particular part. So there can be conflicts while it brings out the best. So talk us through any such moment. How did you handle that conflict and still sort of were motivated to give in your best in that part?
देखो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट कुछ भी हो गलती हमेशा एक्टर की होती है देखा है ना मैंने हमेशा हाँ एवरीबडी लाइक्स टू ब्लेम एक्टर्स सो आई थिंक द फर्स्ट थिंग एटलीस्ट व्हाट आई ट्राई एंड डू इज लाइक हाँ मेरी गलती है
प्रेज भी सबसे ज्यादा एक्टर को ही मिलता है
हाँ मेहनत भी हम ही करते हैं नहीं ऐसा नहीं है मेहनत सबकी होती है बट no you're right we do as actors get a lot of praise we get a lot of love it's unreal the kind of love we end up getting. Like suddenly I go to a new city and I've never been there and you'll meet a person who'll meet you like they know you. Because they're familiar with your work or they've seen a few of your films and there's so much. So sometimes I'm confused ho jati hu. Like the other day I was at the airport and someone's like, Huma. And I'm like thinking school, college, kahan mili hu main? I'm trying to like place that person, but it was just a fan who just got excited to see me. But isn't it so beautiful? Like you get to like, that person met me like that person knew me, and maybe like is familiar with my work or has an opinion about me. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. Creative process is always tough.
But how do you deal with the conflict?
And creative people are very passionate about what we do, right? Because that's what drives us. We all are so convinced. Director is convinced. Ye shot aise hi lena chahiye. DOP, the director of photography, is convinced इसको कुछ नहीं आता. मुझे पता है कैसे लाइटिंग करनी है. Actor is convinced कि सब मेरे काम के मेरे पीछे हंस रहे हैं. किसी को मेरा एक्टिंग पसंद नहीं है.
एंड में चलती किसकी है? Director.
I think of course in our profession because it's films and films is a director's medium 100%. I think director is the captain of the ship and as it should be because to be honest beyond a certain point it's a collaborative process. But sometimes to make it too democratic can be detrimental. क्योंकि हर कोई अपनी फिल्म बना रहा होता है. But you need one person to be like, okay, everybody contributes.
One person is in charge.
But one person is in charge. And I think that's the best approach.
Okay, next we'll talk a little about the way the creative movie making and storytelling process has evolved over the years. Now, I don't mean from the medium point of view, ki now from big screen and TV to how OTT has emerged, but more from the content standpoint. And we were discussing earlier how earlier, let's say 15, 20 years back, you had films bucketed into two broad categories. Ki this is hardcore, commercial, masala, entertainer, jo box office leke aayega. And the other is your artsy film, which is primarily more for a social message and for delivering a larger good, etc., which may or may not have the commercial success. In the last 10 years, I see this line diminishing and maybe our, the writers have sort of evolved. They've been able to sort of marry both these worlds together, and that's the reason why you have successes in the form of, let's say, a Padman or like a Stree for that matter more recently, which are hardcore entertainment movies, but packaged with a very, very interesting message, which is for the larger society. So how do you see this evolvement that has happened in terms of bringing out the best of creativity and getting the box office success as well?
I think we are in the middle of some of the most exciting times ahead in terms of pure content making and consumption. I mean, look at you guys. Like today, we are spoiled for choice. You can go watch a film in any language, sitting at your house. You know, we are truly in the age where content has become territory agnostic. And I think that's wonderful. Today we watch Tamil films, Malayalam films, Spanish series. You know, a series from Korea suddenly has become like the most watched all over the world. Like, when did this ever happen? Right? And we are watching content from all over the world and from different parts of the country and really connecting with it. Because you realize eventually, no matter what your cultural differences are, it's just basic human stories, right? And I think it's such an exciting time for content creators, writers, directors, actors, especially for India. I feel there's such a huge focus internationally on our stories, our culture, our folklore, our songs, you know, and I feel that has a resonance globally. And what we are seeing is not even the tip of the iceberg. I think in the next 5 years, there will be such a huge cross pollination. And of course, we all are very happy for Stree doing so well, you know, in India and all over. But you'll see many such Strees coming out, you know, and having a much, much bigger global impact and domestic impact as well. So it's a very, very exciting time.
You spoke about Indian movies having global resonance and finding a global audience. Uh, I was also watching a podcast of Javed Akhtar very recently, where he was talking about, you know, a recent trend in Bollywood that how we're only sort of remaking international movies in the recent times, or we're remaking, you know, southern movies in Bollywood, or we are probably banking on the successful IPs.
But अभी तो remake rights लेके बनाते हैं, पहले तो ऐसे ही बना लेते थे. You know what I'm saying? So it's not a new trend. I mean, sorry, continue.
I know, but in the last, I think, 5 years or so, if you see, there are a lot of remakes that are happening. I mean, you are also doing Jolly LLB 3 now.
It's not a remake.
I mean, sorry,
it's
a sequel. Sorry, a sequel. So remakes, as well as, and he was talking about how we are banking on successful IPs in the recent times. Like, we're not coming out with enough original content, and somewhere that is sort of affecting the creative process or risk-taking factor for writers, because, you know, you don't have to work that hard because the film has already made that kind of, they've become cash rich or cash positive even before sometimes even glowing on floor. So what is your take on that? And do you see any kind of, now you're working on Jolly LLB 3 and you work on maybe original content, is there any difference in your creative process? Because see, in a Jolly LLB 3, you know the world, you know the character, you know the kind of stuff that you've done, as opposed to an original content where the complete world is new, the character is new.
Honestly speaking, I don't see a difference or a problem if you're making a successful sequel to a already hit film. And Jolly LLB, when part one was made, it was actually made with a very small, it was an indie film almost, you know, with a very small star cast. And because it was made with those limited resources and budgets, and it sort of popped, and then it became a franchise. So actually that's a great example of like a really small film with a small cast, you know, not like any of the big fanfare attached to it, becoming a really super successful franchise. And now, of course, there's a third installment coming, you know, with both the Jollies combining. So actually, it's a great example. But what I personally feel, I feel there's a huge space for the big ticket films in our country. But what is definitely missing is how do we create an ecosystem to protect the small and the mid-sized films. You know, I think that's where the focus need to be. Like whenever, like of course, streaming is a huge help. Like streamers really like, you know, help in telling different kind of stories and they're bringing that to the fore. But what about the theatrical business? So I think that's a very different conversation, right? And what are we doing enough as an industry to protect that? Like it's one of my dreams to, you know, to create an ecosystem where they have a completely different distribution, completely different marketing, completely different like, because they can't, a small film cannot take the same kind of burden as a big blockbuster or any of these other films that you're talking about. And it has to be protected because those are like, for example, Payal's film that won at Cannes. You know, I think it's such a great example because it's a small indie film that just won these global accolades. But where is a system within our country to nurture these kind of storytellers and filmmakers? So actually, it's something that I really am actively working towards. That can we create a space where you don't have to like raise crores, but something where this kind of talent is nurtured, mentor, and they get like a way to showcase their films. And that kind of help which is required in the international festival circuit and all of that. But having said that, all kind of films should be made. I don't think anybody should be like, आप ये नहीं बना सकते, वो नहीं बना सकती. Power आपके पास है, मत देखो. You guys have the power, you know, whether you buy a ticket or not, whether you click on the platform or not. And, you know, I believe in democracy, so.
Point taken. Okay, let's talk a little about responsibility in storytelling and in cinema. Now, like you said earlier also that as an actor you feel a great amount of influence that you can make positively on society and people who are going to watch your films. However, there is an entire narrative that is on the aspect that how actors always need to be shown in a perfect light. You can't have flawed characters being played on screen. And then with recent examples like, let's say, an Animal, or for that matter, even Kabir Singh, where the characters were not the perfect quintessential Bollywood male actors, but really, really flawed. It attracted so much of flack on social media, from media overall. How do you see that impacting the creative process? Because not everybody is built the way that they can take that kind of negative criticism also, from time to time. And would you have picked a film like an Animal, for example, if it had a female part to it?
I would love to play a female animal. Why not? देखो, ticket खरीदना, first day first show. अभी बड़ी तालियां बजा रहे हो, हाँ? No, I mean, see, बहुत आसान होता है to comment on other people's work and their choices. इसको ना वो करना चाहिए था. And as a country, we love talking about cricket and movies and who should have done which part and would have been a better casting or उस ball पे छक्का नहीं मारना चाहिए था, whatever. We love discussing all these things to death. But it's very difficult to be in that position. However, having said that, I think every artist has their own inner moral compass, and every audience also has their own inner moral compass. Nobody's forcing you to watch a film. Absolutely. You are actively going and buying a ticket and spending your valuable time to go watch something. So it's your complete choice. And it is also your choice not to watch it. It is also your choice to criticize it. So I feel that, if we are treating everyone as an adult part of civil society, then they have that choice to do whatever it is that they want to do. For example, I have just signed on to do something, I can't reveal what it is, but a negative character. And I've never really played a negative character. So I was just like, should I not? Like, oh my God, like, what would be the societal implications of something like that? And I remember I saw an old interview of Leonardo when he did this film called Django Unchained, where he plays this white guy who's, a slave owner. And in one of the scenes, he had to spit on the face of his black co-star. And he was just like, I was just so torn. Of course, we are making this film and it's very violent and it's very gore. But the purpose of this film, and we know as creators, the purpose of that film for him was that this is actually anti-slavery. But we really want you to see how dark and bad it was. And because of who he is and how popular he is as an actor, that people will, seeing his face playing that character, would come and watch it. And maybe sometimes, doing something negative can have a positive impact. But again, it's completely personal. It's very individualistic. I am nobody to say कि उनको वो बनाना चाहिए, नहीं बनाना चाहिए. I can only decide for myself. But if anyone's willing to make a female animal, call me.
Okay, I think, so as an industry and as PR communicators, we are, like I said, working on a lot of creative campaigns, etc. And sometimes when we are doing that, we are able to, at times, understand the scale of, or the massiveness that this particular campaign can actually go on. Sometimes, I wouldn't say all the time, but yes, sometimes you can actually understand that, acha, ye matlab, this will break the internet, or this will really Is there any way where you've been part of working on a movie, any instance where you've actually, while filming it, understood the scale that ye to matlab 100% blockbuster hai, or maybe on the contrary, while working you realize that this is not coming out the way it was narrated to me, in terms of how it will turn out eventually for the audience.
I really want to know what this method is that you know ki what's going to work or not. नहीं यार, I wish. हाँ, मतलब ये तो नहीं बता सकते कि क्या hit होगा क्या नहीं होगा. But I think by the first or the second day on a set, you get that sinking feeling you get कि लग गए. Can't be saved. That has happened for sure.
Which film?
और ये जवाब तो कभी नहीं मिलने वाला.
यहाँ कोई मीडिया नहीं है.
इतनी बेवकूफ नहीं हूँ मैं.
This is a closed door. No मीडिया नहीं है यहाँ पे.
Nobody तो उस फिल्म का नाम था. मेरे दिल से मैंने कहा और आपने सुन लिया.
Okay, let's talk.
कितना खराब सवाल है. मैं बताऊं कि आप जहाँ ऑफिस में काम करती हैं, who is your most unfavorite person over there? कैसे बोल सकते हैं? किसी को नहीं बताएंगे, promise. बताओ ना.
फिलहाल क्वेश्चन आपसे पूछा जा रहा है. Okay, fine. We'll let that go. Okay, let's talk a little about women actors. And, हमने industry की involvement की बात कर ली. We've spoken about stories being evolved. Now let's talk a little about how women and their roles have evolved. Now, I've personally been a very, huge admirer of your work. And I feel, from your very first movie till your last, I think you've had a great range as an actor. You've shown a great range as an actor. Your characters are there's a lot of depth, they are nuanced, they are layered. And I know that if I'm watching you for even 10 minutes on screen, I will have a lot of fun. And I feel Jolly LLB, as you spoke about it, that is one of my most favorite characters. Like a lot of times I watched that movie just to see you and that part that you played on it. So, but that's not the case with every, actor. And you still have that sort of quintessential Bollywood portrayal of actors who are, the female actors, who are bogged down by the fact that they have to actually appeal to the patriarchal mindset or the male gaze, and there was a recent article I was reading that how even such talented actresses have to finally give in to the fact that they need to actually resonate with the male gaze because 70% of movie theater goers are still male. How do you see that impact creativity? Because at the end of the day, it is about showcasing your talent, and if you can't do that with the way the stories are being made, then where does that take the women characters? Although I personally believe there are many good movies that are being made now, there are better parts being written now. But overall, do you think there has been a change?
I think so, and thank you so much for all the sweet things you said. No, 100%. I think we're all witnessing it, no? As we speak, there is a change. There is a change in the kind of films being made, even within a mainstream construct. Women have better things to do. They're actually doing something in the story, as opposed to just looking good or just being the hero's accessory. I feel I've never. Let me put it this way: the male gaze is important, so is the female gaze. I think the more women writers and directors and producers that will be there in the system and not just actors, you will actually have a very different way of looking at the same material. See, what happens is that as creative people, we can only reflect the experiences we've had, right? It's only human nature. You cannot suddenly, I can't tell you ki in Korea what a 16-year-old girl is thinking because I don't know. I've not lived that life, right? I can only tell you what somebody in my position, the experiences I have had and reflect that in my work. So if whatever work I'm choosing to do, it's a reflection of some of my inner beliefs, meets opportunity, meets other thing, etc. I feel as long as we have more women in the workforce, not just as actresses, but also behind the scene, those stories will get reflected more, which is what is happening. Because now we have people just making films, and they are of the female gender.
So you've made a conscious choice. I mean, is that always a conscious choice that no, I need to have a part which has depth in it, and I'm not just being an ancillary to the male's
हाँ यार,
character
it's
story.
very boring otherwise. I've done a few films like that, but you go on set and you just like, but I'm so bored, you know? And I feel, I mean, I'm not trying to be a activist or be like, no, no, these are my rights. No, but I'm saying it's just boring. Imagine going to work and not having any work to do. Other people are working and you're just being told to like, just do bare minimum. And I'm like, Arey, but I can do more. Make me do more. I can offer more. I think I come from that very healthy space of like saying the excitement and collaboration. And I've always done a lot of ensemble films from the starting of my career. But so I understand it's never about length of character, but it's about impact.
So just, a follow-up question to that would be also understanding, see, it's when we look at it from the women's lens, it's not easy to be a woman in today's world, and especially, it's not different for the film industry, I would presume, there is constant judgment, there are constant prejudice that you're fighting, sometimes you're too thin, sometimes you're too fat, sometimes you're too fair, sometimes you're too dark, your hair is too curly, your hair is too straight. Uh, how do you think, and then there is the social media, there's constant trolling and everybody has an opinion on what you're wearing, what you're saying, how you're talking. So how do you think this constant pressure and, judgment impacts the creative outcome that you may have as an actor?
Um, I believe in the concept of sometimes blocking like periods of time and your energy and your focus. There's only one way in which you do any credible work. You have to like put blinders on and just do that. If you're going to read every comment on your Instagram feed, if you're going to read every article about yourself, if I am going to listen to every opinion that is thrown my way, I can never do anything in my life. And nobody can. You just have to be like, no, this is what I need to do. This is my focus. I need to achieve this. Now, whatever happens is blinders on. So honestly, I'm quite thick-skinned.
Okay, before we just open this, can we just do like a 2-minute rapid fire?
Is there a
Are we
hamper?
up for it?
I'm ready. But is there a
Well,
hamper?
Amit can answer that. Maybe there is, yeah.
Amit, there has to be a hamper.
Okay, your favorite character played on screen?
I would say my first character, Mohsina.
Okay, that's mine too. Your favorite and most fun co-star till date?
Fun co-star.
Who have you had most fun with on a movie?
I think Akshay sir is a lot of fun. Varun is a lot of fun.
Yeah, okay. Rate your films in order of your performance. Gangs of Wasepur, Maharani, Double XL, Monica Oh My Darling, and Ded Ishq.
Tough.
Okay, just say the first three, top three.
I think Maharani, Monica, and then all of them together.
Okay. Any role that you've regretted passing on? Anything that you've really loved seeing and it came to you
Lots of
first?
things. Lots of things. Because I think, and it's an honest admission, I think when I started my career, थोड़ा रैपिड नहीं है, थोड़ा ऐसे सैड स्टोरी है. तो when I, अरे सैड स्टोरी तुम लोग हंस रहे हो. When I started my career, I think and when we also, I think around the time that we also met, like, I had that gusto of just doing one film. I was like, I just want to do one film. I want to see myself once on the big screen. I want to have one hit. अब वो, God was kind. पहली film भी मिल गई, hit भी हो गई, देख भी लिया, सब कुछ हो गया. I didn't have a plan after that. And then I was like, no, now what do I do? And coming from the outside and not having so many friends and not even knowing that much, I think I was very scared. So I said no to a lot of films at that point in time, which I probably should have said yes to. Don't ask me which
Name.
ones.
ये तो इतना controversial है नहीं.
See, you should always focus on the things I've done. Why bother about things I've not done?
Fair. Any favorite scene or dialogue from a movie? Like mine, I told you. Your favorite dialogue is the first dialogue. Permission लेना चाहिए था.
Permission लेना चाहिए. बहुत सारे हैं यार. हाथी चले बाजार और कुत्ता भौंके हजार. That's from Maharani.
Woo!
And more you want?
We're good with one, chalo. Okay, if not an actor, Huma would be?
A struggling actor.
If not a struggling actor, Huma would be?
A struggling restaurateur. Actually, maybe a successful restaurateur.
Okay. You've been a PR professional as well. You've been a marketer for your, initially when she was doing theatre, she used to also do manage PR for that. So maybe that's
I
a
tried.
career.
So failed marketer also.
Okay. If your life were a movie, what would the title be?
Work in progress.
If you could switch lives with any Bollywood character or for a day from your set of movies, which one would it be and why?
Sorry, say that again.
Switch lives with any character that you've played for a day.
I would love to be Monica. So,
Why?
so sassy.
Sassy, yeah.
I wish I was that sassy. I'm not. I'm a bit clumsy like that. Like,
Okay. What's the strangest thing you've done to prepare for a role?
what's the strangest thing
Yeah.
I've done to prepare for a role? Actually, can I tell you something?
Yes.
I'm not a process person.
Actually, you're like
हाँ मुझे ना
spontaneous.
हाँ मुझे ऐसे स्टोरी बोलनी है किसी को कि मैं प्लेटफॉर्म पे सोई और 3 दिन खाना नहीं खाया और मुझे फिर थेरेपिस्ट के पास जाना पड़ा. I really wish I could do this, but I'm not that actor.
I think that shows on screen, you know, that spontaneity shows on screen. That works for you.
Thank you. But मुझे ऐसे एक इंटरव्यू में बोलना है. So I'm going to do it just so the next time somebody asks me, I say, you know, that time when I was sleeping on the platform. ऐसे आर्टिस्ट वाली फीलिंग नहीं आती ना.
Okay, an actor you would have you would love to, you know, share a screen with for your next movie.
Undoubtedly, my most favorite actor, Mr. Shah Rukh Khan.
Oh.
Dua
We'll
karo.
have to see that.
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah.
Okay, last one word for the following. PR. Just one word, anything. PR.
Pyar.
Maharani.
I don't know. Special.
Okay, Delhi.
Home.
Cinema.
Life.
Zeba.
Scary. Scary to write it, so scary.
Film critics.
Exist.
Sinakshi
हक है,
Sinha.
सबको हक है, हाँ?
Sinakshi Sinha.
Sister.
And last but not the least, Praxis.
Oh, ये तो special है. Wonderful.
Okay, with that, we'll just open the floor for some
Yep.
questions. Guys.
Let's see show of hands, guys.
No, but thank you. You were amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, microphone there to Xavier.
अभी भी सवाल बाकी हैं?
Oh, this is Xavier here. I just have a question for one of my colleagues. You acted with Rajnikant. And
Yes.
Yeah, so can you just tell me one of the most interesting experiences while you acted with him?
So, what's your name again?
My name is Xavier Prabhu.
So, this question is for you or your colleague?
My colleague.
Why
who's a
colleague
big-
is so shy? She's a Rajni fan, no? Rajni
Yes.
fan should not be shy.
Just answer the question, Nima.
No, I think Rajni sir is like a dream to work with. What can I say? I think I was just zapped by how down to earth and simple he is. Very easy to talk to, and this is a story I've mentioned before. Like we were shooting, and you know he had a man next to him at all times. And one day I got introduced to him that you know this is my friend from the last 30 years. When Mr. Rajnikant was a bus conductor, he used to be the other conductor with him, and they're still friends till date. And I thought that was such an endearing quality about him that he still is like you know in touch with all those people that he started out with.
Hi, I'm Myron from Bloomingdale PR, and my question is related to what Vasundhara had asked about sequels being famous. You know, so what I wanted to understand from your point of view, don't you think there is a certain amount of pressure, you know, because like now you mentioned about Jolly LLB 3. Is there going to be a Jolly LLB 4 or a 5? And you know, when you talk about fresh content, don't you think it's more pressurizing to create that different kind of content? And at what extent do you think that this is supposed to end? Like, I saw this one series on Netflix, Blacklist. I don't know if you've seen it, wherein Raymond basically says that, I need to put an end to it because this is dragging and it's getting boring. We've had certain, if I have to give you examples of Hindi movies, Golmaal being one of the famous, it was disappointing, some of the other sequels. Hera Fairy, I mean, there's a lot of, excitement, but also on the other end, there is a little bit of pushback, like how is this going to be? What if the cast is changed? So I want to understand from your point of view, because this is slightly connected even to PR when I'm talking in terms of creativity. Because when it's a fresh thing, you have the liberty to create anything you want. But here, don't you think there are any kind of restrictions when it comes to sequel? Also, there is a huge amount of pressure from the director's point of view and also from the actor's point of view.
Taran? Sorry, I didn't get your name.
It's Myron. Huh? My and Run.
So your question is the pressure on the sequel.
The pressure on the sequel. If there is a sequel, like I gave you an example of Jolly LLB. So don't you think there is a pressure on the 4th or the 5th?
So I'll tell you about Jolly specifically. I understood. Thank you. So Jolly LLB has been created and directed by a gentleman called Mr. Subhash Kapoor, who coincidentally is also the showrunner for a show that I do called Maharani. And I think he's one of the few creators that I have worked with or witnessed who are successful both in theatrical as well in the OTT space. No, normally, ऐसा होता है, some directors are good just for OTT, some are just good for theatrical. Very rarely do you find creators who are able to crack both the theatrical and the OTT format, and he's one of those people. I personally really enjoy working with him, and I don't think, because you mentioned Jolly LLB, specifically that, because each film and each project is different, and I'm no spokesperson for everybody's choices. I think the intent is to create lovable characters with a social consciousness and to put them in different situations and then see how they respond. And which is why both Jolly and Maharani have been supremely successful. Because it takes that whole idea of a common person, a common woman, changing the world or finding that inner strength to bring about social change in an entertaining, filmy, mazedar tarika. I hope that answered your question.
Not really. What I wanted to understand is it...
All right. Now,
to number like 99.
Everyone will be jealous. I don't want to do that.
Good one. Good one, guys. That's a fantastic note to close the show, Huma. Truly appreciate it.
Thank you so much. You
Thank
guys
you.
were great. Thank you, Vasundhara. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Praxis, for having me. Thank you, Kunal. I had a lot of fun, guys. Either you being very nice to me and laughing at all my terrible jokes, but please call me again, and I'd love to come. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Huma Qureshi.